think since it's been 20 years since we started, it is quite hard to remember, but I do remember a few things. I remember me and Dominic getting together and kind of working on some songs, and then having our first rehearsal, getting in touch with Martin and practicing. It was a lot of fun.
Many plans were up past playing gigs. I think it was the main purpose of it, and that was it really. Definitely weren't. Didn't have grand visions or anything like that when we started, so pretty modest.
Yeah. I think the reason we came up with Mogwai was because of Gremlins, but then Martin at the time was working in a Chinese restaurant, and that's when we found out that it was a real word.
Yeah, a guy that was one of the cooks wrote it down for me. When Stuart first asked me to be in a band called Mogwai, it was definitely a Gremlins link, it wasn't a Cantonese link.
We didn't get to go and play in China for a long time. I think we thought it was some kind of superstitious thing. But I think the truth is that it's not the easiest place to get to and to get bands over to, but we've been since. I think we're fans of probably such a big list of people. It'd be hard to kind of pin them down. I mean,
yeah. Where would you start?
I mean, me and Dominic are big comic fans, so we were kind of into like Alan Moore and Neil Gaiman comics and stuff when we started the band, and Stanley Kubrick films and The Exorcist.
Yes, that was a big one for us. I think when we started was was The Exorcist. We liked it a lot.
Aye.
Yeah, we've definitely taken a bunch of stuff from that.
When we started, we probably had about half songs with vocals and half without, and I think it was really just the fact that the instrumental ones were better songs, so we kind of veered towards that more.
Yeah, definitely. It wasn't a decision from the outset. Definitely just... Yeah, I think we enjoyed the way that the instrumental songs worked, so the way you could build them and didn't have to worry about choruses or middle eights and stuff like that. It just let it go where you wanted it to, and it was a lot more enjoyable.
I don't think it's affected where our music's heard at all, to be honest. I think it's probably helped us, because we can play in countries where there isn't a big focus on English language lyrics, where maybe they wouldn't really understand much of what people were singing about anyway. So I think it kind of makes our music probably a bit more universal.
Well, we went to a place in Indonesia called Bandung.
Yeah.
And we pulled like 1,000 kids, and we'd never heard of the place before, and the venue was flooded in the afternoon. You know, it was like a foot of water. The amps were all wrecked for sound check and stuff. It was just a real, it's hard to get the show to work. Yeah, going to a place like that where, you've probably never even thought about playing before, and you get 1,000 kids there who really are glad that you've made the effort and know what your music's about and all that. It's quite humbling, really.
I think going to new places, going to new countries that you don't really ever get the opportunity to go to is always it's always quite exciting, 'cause you never know what awaits you, and it's good to play into a crowd that have never heard you before, because it's always quite remember the first time we went to Chile, they just were so enthusiastic, and we all got swept up in it and played a brilliant show on that, and I like that sort of reaction.
There's a few things have changed our music. I think a lot of it's personnel. I think when Barry joined the band in 1998, playing piano and synthesizer, that made a big difference. And a lot of these other things was a lot to do with technology, like actually having laptops and means to get these sounds that otherwise we didn't have.
Definitely equipment affects it. I mean, with our last album, Barry had purchased a load of modular synth stuff, And yeah, really good sounding new toys, so we just put on absolutely everything. We rely quite heavily on delay pedals.
Yeah, we've got a lot.
That's a constant.
A fair arsenal of delay pedals.
I don't think there's a piece of studio equipment really, is there?
It's probably more actual equipment, like distortions or delays or a lot of Barry synthesizers, which I don't know the names of. I just know they're very fancy, expensive things with wires sticking out them. But
because we're not particularly technical, Tony could probably come and point to some compressor that's all over absolutely everything we've recorded, but I'm absolutely clueless as to what that would be.
I think the way we record music is pretty simple. It's just as best as we can. We've got our own studio here in the Castle of Doom, and it's really Tony Dugan's place, but we're co-owners. So he's kind of amassed a pile of gadgetry and wizardry and fancy mics, and I mean, it's great getting into something and there is satisfaction when something's done, but it's definitely not immediate. It's far from it.
Yeah, there's a lot of repetition. Like sometimes you have to spend an entire day recording one bit over and over and over again, and that can definitely
drain the will to live.
Yeah.
And once we've finished the music, we quite often go to the hi-fi shop, Loud and Clear, just across the road. They've got a load of different systems from £1,000 to like £80,000, and we can listen to it in the way that a lot of people would hear it in their house.
We used to write all the songs before we went into record and have them completely finished, whereas nowadays we get the ideas together but then finish, and sometimes we're still writing when we get in the studio. So we get into the studio, record the tune, use all these toys to get it in a good shape, and then we have to try and work out how we're going to do it live.
It's kind of like relearning the songs quite often.
And the songs can actually change quite a bit in that time. With our last album with Rave Tapes, and the songs changed a lot when we played them live. Like, they became quite different, and it's always slightly disappointing when you go and see a band and it sounds exactly like the CD, nothing's changed. I think there should definitely be a variation.
I think what makes writing music for soundtracks different from making music for our own records is that you're adding to someone else's vision. You're kind of augmenting something rather than having something that's expected to stand on its own. So I think the challenge to that is to kind of be able to kind of take a step back, and I think we've done that with a lot of our soundtrack things. Is even though we've been kind of encouraged to make the music really bombastic, I think we've tended to make it more subdued, which I think kind of works a bit better.
Yeah, I mean, when we're recording an album, we tend to just put a really, really ridiculous amount of tracks on everything, and with you have to keep it really sparse with soundtrack work. It just doesn't work when you start layering loads of things on it, so you end up actually taking stuff away and keeping it as simple as you can.
I think the thing with Zidane was that the concept that Douglas and Philippe, who made the film, had was that it was just a guy at his work, that it was a portrait of a guy just doing his job. And I mean, me and Martin are big football fans and appreciate that he was brilliant at what he did.
When we went to see Douglas in his studio in Glasgow, we were just walking up going, this is going to be really weird, our music to a football game kind of thing, because we didn't really know what it was going to look like at that point either, you know. It was chat about it beforehand was quite loose, so it was just like, is this going to work, you know? And he showed us some of the footage with was it the Satan remix?
Searching.
And it was just like, wow, it does go. It's really quite surprising.
Even though I do think the soundtrack is perfect, I think that redoing 2001: A Space Odyssey would be great fun, because it's so open. It's kind of a bit like our music. There's not really there's no tight edits. You could just have these massive kind of long shots and just have really big epic bits of music, so that would be quite good fun. When we were compiling the songs for Central Belters, there weren't as many disagreements as I thought there might have been. I think there was one song, like Herod, that quite a lot of people wanted on it, but it's so long that it kind of would have pushed the length of one of the CDs too long. They've had to take a lot of songs off it. But,
the songs that ended up being on it are all mostly songs that we still play live. They've been through the set list for a long time, so it wasn't. There was nothing that was put forward that seemed weird or out of place.
The third CD was the hardest one actually, because that's mostly rarer songs like B-sides or things that were on tour singles or one-off singles, and that was kind of harder because, as Dominic said, like the other ones were ones we still play live, whereas these ones were ones just kind of floating around. So there was the kind of, you have to kind of be really objective as to why to put them on. So there was a wee bit of discussion about that. I wanted to put an unreleased song on it. I thought it was pish.
Can't even remember which one you're talking about.
I wiped it from your mind.
Must be really terrible.
I think if I had to choose one song of ours, it would probably be Mogwai, Fear Satan. It was one of the first songs we wrote for our debut record, and yeah, it's definitely endured. We still play it, and I think it kind of has a lot of what the band's done over the years, the kind of dynamics and the fact that we can play for almost 20 minutes playing two chords.
That would have been actually the track I think I would have chosen as well. But yeah, it's
You blew it?
I blew it. But yeah, no, when you're playing, I mean, we have pretty much played that at every gig we've done. There's only been a few that we've probably not done it, but if you're touring for a long time, you get quite sick of playing some songs, and that's always it's pretty good fun to play. It's still it's loose enough as well that it's good to have songs sometimes that are so simple you can just kind of drift away. You don't need to concentrate too hard, and that's the best example of that. It's great, and it gets really loud.
I definitely prefer being on the stage.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, playing live is definitely it's the most immediate aspect of being in a band. I mean, it's you're either having a good time or you're not. It's really easy to gauge. We can gauge quite quickly whether the audience is into it or not. Whereas when you're recording a record, it's not until it's finished that you can really gain satisfaction from it. I don't know, maybe that's a weird thing to say, but it's not until it's done that you know how it's going to turn out.
It's a very long process.
You finish an album, it's great. That's a great feeling, but live's definitely much more exciting.
I think if I had to look back and pick one moment, I think it would probably be a gig, and just off the top of my head, I remember probably the first big gig we ever did. We supported Pavement in 1997 in London at the Astoria, and I remember that kind of something kind of clicked that night, that the music made sense in this bigger room, because up to that point we'd only ever played in bars. So I remember that, and it was a really good night.
Yeah, it was by far the biggest crowd we played to at that point as well. I think beforehand we maybe played to 200 people at the most, and yeah, it's like a 2,000 capacity venue, and walked out and just saw these people, and it was instant just terror, absolute pure nerves, and we were young enough where when that happened it just actually spurred us on, and we
I think all the songs were really fast that
yeah,
night,
we played
so.
the songs really fast. The set was over probably about 10 minutes to spare, but it was great, absolutely great. And Stuart said it was the first time he'd probably been through a big PA, and it was screaming, so it was really, really, really exciting. And then we were also huge fans of Pavement, so to actually get to play with people you looked up to was great. It was a memorable night, and they were very, very nice to us, and we would have been really hyperactive, probably quite annoying teenagers still at that point, so it was a good night.
definitely prefer vinyl. That's my preferred way to hear music. Obviously it's not handy when you're out and about away from your house, but I think that's how we intend our music to be heard, and that's my favourite way of listening to other people's music.
That's how we grew up. I found the jump to CDs a wee bit galling, because one, I had to buy a CD player, but they were so expensive at that time compared to records, and my money that I had as a teenager didn't really stretch.
It's changed now, hasn't it?
Yeah, I know. CDs are like £2 now, and vinyl's a fortune. But yeah, there's something quite satisfying about vinyl. I think it's the ritual of it. Pulling out this big slab of plastic, looking at the artwork, and putting the arm on the record is great. Until
the last pressing plant closes, we'll still be putting our music out on vinyl.
It's what we started doing. I mean, the first Mogwai releases were all 7 inches, so we've got very good memories and very fond of the format. I
still remember going to a warehouse at Glasgow Airport to pick up the box of our first 7-inch. It was
Rock Action 1, and the Central Belters is Rock Action 100. I like that. Strangely, the biggest problem with making vinyl now is the resurgent popularity. Actually getting space in the pressing plants to get it made is one of the biggest ones. It's actually meaning that bands have to finish their albums a lot more ahead of release date than they used to. You've got to be careful not to manufacture more than people are going to buy, because you don't want to, especially with a 6 vinyl box set, you don't want thousands of them sitting around the warehouse. I think it's definitely worth it. It's definitely worth it, and I think that music fans are definitely coming towards vinyl as the definitive way to hear music. I think in the next 20 years, I'd like all 4 of us to still be alive.
I was thinking that. Yes. Possibly death.
Assuming we stay in this realm. Just make some records and play some gigs and go to some nice places and have some nice drinks.